Hey guys, Peter here to tell you about the latest from Immortal, War Against All, on May 26 on Nuclear Blast. The album has 8 tracks, 38 minutes in length, and this is the band's 10th full-length studio album. They are a Norwegian black metal band. When it comes to the design of this record, the album feels very compact, very cohesive, concise, but also offering a clear path in terms of where you are, where you're going, and how you're going to get there. An album that doesn't sound or feel repetitive, that has great ebbs and flows within the songs and from song to song, making the experience very dynamic, very engaging, easy to follow, easy to digest, easy to get into. An album that definitely doesn't overstay its welcome, and when you add 38 minutes into the overall mix, it just makes it feel even more so like that. It has great playability because of how it's designed, because it gives quality to the overall record from the quality that already exists in the individual songs. But the flow that they created with this design definitely makes for a much better experience, allowing the songs to sound so much better in the context of the record than they do outside of the context of the album. As far as the sound is concerned, this is their trademark sound, dark and cold, driven at times, very gritty, very raw, very organic, very animalistic to a certain extent. And I always felt like that was the trademark sound of Immortal, obviously with melody infused in it as well. The beauty about the sound of this record is that perhaps it sounds a little bit thick than what I was expecting coming in. I was expecting the sound to be cold, yes, but a little bit more penetrating, cutting a little bit deeper. And it's not always the case. It happens throughout the record, but it doesn't stay consistent in that manner. It moves. It allows you to feel that some tracks have a lot more volume and they also have a lot more depth. You're perhaps going to see that first and foremost in the drum sound. The drum sound of this record definitely adds an epic value or an added value to some of these songs, giving them a much larger footprint, making the songs feel a lot bigger, like they have a lot more volume, obviously infusing some heaviness as well. But I think they do more in terms of the size of the track than they do in terms of the heaviness that they offer. So the drums have this versatility, this duality of approach or duality of results that allows the sound to stay consistent on one hand, but also change as far as your perception goes from song to song. Really important role of the drum sound throughout the entire album, dictating how much the album expands and how much the album contracts, because this also has an impact on how the guitars come across. A little bit of that bigger and thicker sound is also coming from the guitars because they also have that nature to them, and then when you pair that with the already thick and big volume of the drums, the wall of sound naturally becomes bigger and thicker. It's a natural progression, it's a natural evolution. But the penetrating riffs, the cold riffs, the raw sounding guitar notes that at times you can almost close your eyes and picture the fingers running through those strings, that is still there. That core sound, it's still there. It's just that it moves differently. It weaves itself, allowing other elements to come in and take a much larger chunk of what you're understanding, what you perceive the sound to be. Not necessarily depending only on that experience, only on that sound to connect these tracks from first all the way to last. So it's a more volatile sound from that point of view. I'm not going to say diverse, but more volatile sound from that point of view. Definitely adding value, changing the perception of the listener, changing the eyesight of the listener, allowing for a much richer overall sound experience than just having almost a one-size-fits-all approach for the elements, not necessarily the outcome from beginning to end across every single song. So incredible guitar sound, incredible guitar work, but that addition not only of grit, but of that organic feel that allows you to imagine the song being played in front of you. I think that adds so much value to how you perceive these songs, to how they sound. And even when it comes to the more melodic side of the record, it allows that melody to come across in a very dark, in a very cold way, but not really breaking mold or not really breaking away from the overall design or the overall feel that this album has. Vocally, it's perhaps where you're going to see the biggest amount of consistency and not a lot of fluctuation from beginning to end. The vocal approach in the first song is going to be the vocal approach throughout the entire record. A vocal approach that adds coldness to the overall underlying cold breeze of darkness that this album offers. It doesn't allow that atmosphere to come into the forefront uncontrollable or without any restraints on it. It rather molds it in a much different way. So having that consistency vocally allows songs that may sound different, may feel different. Like when you look at the beginning of the record and you look at the end of the record, are two polar opposites of what Immortal could offer. But having a very similar vocal output, having a very similar vocal perspective, really bridges the gap between different songs, and it allows that versatility of sound to not feel perhaps so disconnected. So it's a perfect glue to hold it all together. This is a great record. This is a much better album than Northern Chaos Gods. It doesn't feel as chaotic, not only from a design point of view, but also from a soundscape perspective. So this is definitely more than just a step up. This is an outstanding record from Immortal, an album that has a lot of great lines, a lot of great melodies, a lot of great hooks, an album that becomes memorable and allows you to see the differences in the songs and appreciate those differences while what brings them all together as one. It's still there in the backdrop, connecting all the dots. As far as favorite songs are concerned, I want to start off with No Sun. This track is like a cold wind. At least that's how the opening riff comes across. It's like the cold breeze that cuts deep. It cuts into your bones. You can feel it. It makes you shiver on the inside. And then that kind of becomes a little bit part of what the larger song is all about. It starts to take control of the track in general. The song feels very balanced from beginning to end. It has a very heavy backdrop with a more melodic sound driving the experience on the forefront. The chorus allows that melodic driven sound to drop from the forefront into the backdrop, still be present in the track, but not have the same role or not have the same predominant role that it had up until that point. It's a nice way to keep the song balanced and connected while changing what's driving the track and what's in the forefront of that same song. Really interesting way of keeping everything balanced, but at the same time offering some sort of diversity. Now the vocals also get pushed forward because the vocals on this track have a sense of movement. The vocals all around on the tracks throughout this entire album have that sense of movement, almost coming from nothing into something. There's always that movement of expanding. No different in this song. I just felt that at times in this track they were slightly moving more into the middle and then slightly moving more into the forward. Small steps, subtle steps as far as the movement of the vocals are concerned, but important steps in order to allow the sound to take hold, allowing the song to become very strong, creating a very memorable chorus. This song has an outstanding chorus, super memorable, super hooky. It's a great track musically and vocally, and then it has an epic finish as far as the sound experience is concerned. Next we have Nordlandihr. This is something that you're going to hear now that you probably never heard before from me, and you're probably never going to hear again. This is a 7+ minute instrumental track. It's my favorite track on the album. I'm normally not a fan of instrumental tracks, and here I am saying that this is my favorite song on the entire record. And the reason for that is very simple. It's almost a more melodic black metal song all around, in terms of how it sounds, in terms of how it feels, the atmosphere that it creates. It has great atmospheric elements. It has outstanding guitar playing. The guitar playing on this song, the versatility of that tool, of how they use the guitar beyond an instrument, but almost using the guitar sound to tell a story without any words, is beautiful. There's no other words to describe it. This is one of those tracks that while having 7+ minutes in length, it doesn't feel that way because time stands still when you're listening to it. It really sucks you in. It's raw, it's organic, it's unfiltered. It's an emotionally driven track that uses sound to describe feelings, not words. Phenomenal song, a song that really stands out when you look at the overall composition of this record. Last but definitely not least, Blashyrkh My Throne. This is the closing track on the album, and this song is a complete departure from the opening track. So when you look at this song, you have more of a calm, atmospheric opening to how the song gets started. then that atmospheric opening, the elements that are there in that opening, become part of the texture of the entire song. You just see the track gaining more volume, gaining more size, but keeping its shape. The shape of the song doesn't change. What changes is the thickness of the sound, the volume, the presence, almost like the song started off at 4 and then you turn the volume slowly to 11. And that's how the track grows, that's how the track moves. The main riff in this song is memorable. There's a lot of memorable riffs on this album, but this song has one of those that just really becomes an earworm. It becomes tattooed in your brain, and when you hear that riff, when you hear that melody, you know exactly what song from Immortal you're listening to. It has great substance in the sound, very thunderous at times, specifically coming from the drums. The drums are epic. If the guitars are outstanding, the drums are epic. They just have so much life, so much energy, bringing up that energy into the forefront, sliding a little bit more into the back, bringing it again into the forefront, and then intertwining the guitars with that really gives this song a different kind of life, a different kind of sound, a different kind of experience, while infusing a lot of atmospheric elements that makes this a way more textured song, perhaps the most textured song in the entire record to close off the album, really allowing you to feel like this is a track that puts an exclamation mark on the entire experience of this record. The album starts off very cold, very driven. It finishes off a lot warmer, a lot more delicate, with a lot more melody, with a lot more life, but also much bigger size all around. This is it. Immortal, War Against All, out May 26 on Nuclear Blast. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.